Hello friends and viewers, and welcome to my Xavier character guide. Xavier's trait is Solo Carry. Xavier's attack increases for each enemy within 2 tiles around him, capping at 4 enemies. At the start or end of his turn, if there are any enemies within a 1 tile radius, Xavier will deal an additional 40% physical damage. His initial skill is Sweeping Bash. This is a 2 energy cost, 0 turn cooldown skill. Sweeping Bash deals 80% damage to all enemies within a 3x2 area in the target direction and inflicts a Physical Defense 1 debuff. At rank 1, I recommend Risky Move. Risky Move increases Xavier's physical attack by 20% at the cost of decreasing his defense by 15%. This directly increases Xavier's damage, while allows some skill expression by being proactive with covering Xavier's defenses. Combat Frenzy grants 20% lifesteal to all of Xavier's active attacks only. If you are interested in a self-sustaining playstyle, you may consider this. At rank 3, I recommend Chaotic Battle. Chaotic Battle is an AoE attack, dealing 70% damage to all enemies within 2 tiles of Xavier, generating 40% lifesteal and reducing healing received. As far as raw damage, this deals 10% less damage than Sweeping Bash, but attacks enemies in a different radius. Legacy of Comrades is best used in compositions with summoned allies, such as Safia and Akambe. Otherwise, not only are the buffs from this ability unlikely to make up for one team member dying, the buffs are also redundant when you have more sources of level 2 attribute buffs. At rank 5, your options are Indomitable Spirit or Strength Activation. Strength Activation increases Xavier's healing received and grants him a damage 2 buff for 1 turn. Other than external healing, this can also trigger from Xavier's lifesteal attacks. However, when you deploy other units that grant damage buffs, this loses some value. Indomitable Spirit decreases damage taken for each enemy within 2 tiles around him, also capping at 4 enemies. This is the same trigger as his trait but mitigates damage instead. My pick here is Strength Activation. At rank 7, I recommend Spear of Iria. With Spear of Iria, at the start of Xavier's turn, he fully restores his energy and gains a Speed 3 buff for 2 turns, which will make him the fastest unit on the battlefield. This skill has a cooldown of 5 turns. Being proactive with Xavier's positioning will be important to take advantage of the speed buff. Additionally, you want to be mindful of regularly spending Xavier's energy while Spear of Iria is on cooldown to avoid overcapping energy when it does trigger again. Battle Flag of Iria is a non-unique leader's aura, only increasing attack and defense to Irian allies with no special additional effects. This loses value when you have Dentalion in your roster. At rank 9, I recommend Charged Attack. Note that regardless of what you pick, Xavier's basic attack is his strongest single target attack, but single target damage is not his primary function. Charged Attack will increase the damage of his next skill by 15%. This helps to boost Xavier's AoE damage. Feverish Attack adds lifesteal to his basic attack. If you are interested in a self-sustaining playstyle, you may consider this. At rank 11, I recommend Falling Comet Dash. Falling Comet Dash costs 5 energy, selecting one spot within a cross-shaped range to charge, and deals 90% damage to all enemies within a 3x4 area in the target direction, and inflicts a Speed 2 debuff. Spear of Iria best fuels the energy cost for this skill, and by utilizing the speed buff from Spear of Iria, Falling Comet Dash's speed debuff can enable your party to act sooner. Muso deals 110% damage to enemies in a 3x1 area in front of Xavier, knocking back by 2 tiles. After attacking, Xavier will gain parry and preempt. This gives him a bit more defensive capability, and if paired with lifesteal effects, makes him even more self-sustaining to take damage. This is a starter build recommendation for players who may be less comfortable with planning around Falling Comet Dash and Spear of Iria. This build focuses on regularly casting AoE skills by using Chaotic Battle on cooldown and Sweeping Bash otherwise. To master Falling Comet Dash and Spear of Iria, you need to play around Xavier having 5 energy on round 1 and speed 3 on rounds 1 and 2. Then for Falling Comet Dash to become available again on round 6 and speed 3 on round 6 and 7 once again. While Spear of Iria is on cooldown, your third skill slot should be another energy spender, either Chaotic Battle or Sweeping Bash. To play Xavier independently with more self-sustain, this build picks up his lifesteal and damage mitigation options. For weapon recommendations, Double-Sided Halberd is a perfect match for Xavier's trait and AoE damage output. Nameless Staff is another good option to increase his crit and movement. For trinket recommendations, Origin Hourglass is a good option for the attack increase and to protect Xavier from move and speed debuffs, especially when using Spear of Aria. Spring Pill is a reasonable option to help Xavier be more self-sustaining on the front line. If you are stacking lifesteal effects on Xavier, consider Cooling Powder to protect his healing received. Evergreen Pendant is another reasonable option to have high uptime on level 2 attribute buffs, depending on the frequency of Xavier's lifesteal and external healing. For Terra recommendations, Dream of the Magician is a good option to complement Xavier's trait and double-sided halberd, increasing his overall AoE damage. Verdict of Justice is a fine option for the crit and crit damage increases. As Xavier specializes in scenarios against multiple targets, it is reasonable to consider Temptation of the Devil as well. For Engravings, Sword and Wand is the best general use resonance for the attack and defense increases. To provide some composition and usage tips, as mentioned, Xavier excels against multiple enemies, but his only single target contribution is his basic attack. That said, because solo carry increases his attack for each enemy within a 2-tile radius, be mindful of situations where basic attack may be more favorable for priority damage. Xavier is part of the Aria and Fortitude categories. Consider building a team with Xavier using Dentalion and or Magnus's Leader's Auras. For a quick overview of external category buffs, Dentalion's Aria Aura provides 20% more damage to enemies with 3 or more debuffs. Xavier does not offer much to meet the debuff count, so he will need external support. Magnus's Blood and Steel decreases damage taken when healthy and enables Xavier to become immune to the negative effects of injured. Inanna's Soulmate is a great ability to have in an Aryan team, providing attack and defense buffs. That concludes this character guide. If you have any feedback to share with me, please leave a comment below. I'm open to listening and being wrong. I'm another player improving and learning more about Sword of Convallaria just like you are. Remember, if you find conflicting information to other guides or content creators, then that means there are multiple ways to build a character and still achieve success. Finally, my social media contacts are displayed here to connect with me as well. Last but not least, I want to credit and shout out these resources for helping me put together this character guide. Voyage Memento for character build samples and reference links, the No Potion fan site for skill images and skill descriptions, and the Billy Game site for character art assets. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope to see you again soon.